Today we're checking out the Next Torch Pioneer, and after carrying and using this guy for a little bit, I generally think this might be the one multi-tool to rule them all, with some caveats. Not because it's perfect, not because it replaces every tool, but because this thing packs an absurd amount of functionality into one incredibly robust package. And unlike a lot of the cheap Chinese multi-tools flooding Amazon right now, this one is surprisingly enough actually feels pretty premium. And now yes, it is $100, so it absolutely should feel premium. But after handling it, I can say this feels way more substantial than something like your typical cheap Leatherman clone knockoff. So today I'm going to walk you through the design, the tools, what makes this thing unique, who it's actually for, and of course the downsides too. So let's get into it. Alright, first impressions. The moment you pick this thing up, you immediately notice two things pretty quickly. One, this thing is built like a tank. And two, wow, this thing is heavy. The Pioneer weighs just under 9.5 ounces, which puts it above a lot of standard multi-tools. For example, the standard Leatherman Wave weighs a full ounce lighter than this. This is not some lightweight EDC multi-tool you can just forget it's in your pocket. You for sure know what's in there. And honestly, while it does include a pocket clip, I personally cannot imagine pocket carrying this comfortably every day. However, this does come with a standard ordinary nylon belt sheath, which I think is the better option. For me, this is absolutely more of a glove box, vehicle kit, range bag, emergency bag, or work gear type of multi-tool. But that weight also contributes to why this thing feels so good in hand. There's no rattling, no flex, no cheap feeling. Everything is a very overbuilt feel that you normally only get on higher end multi-tools. And the finish on this thing looks really fantastic too. It first has this red powder coating that has some very slight texture and it feels really nice in hand. All the tools have this really cool, rugged stonewash look that also adds to how cool it just overall looks. I really like this more than just stainless or a black coating. Now let's talk about why this thing stands out from basically every other multi-tool I've ever used. And that's just because this isn't another pliers first multi-tool. With that said, there are still pliers here, just not the most important piece. The centerpiece here is actually these full-size, spring-loaded rescue shears. Off the top of my head, I couldn't think of another multi-tool with shears. I know Leatherman has the Raptor, but that's just shears, not a full-size multi-tool. This not only has shears, but a whole lot more. Most multi-tools only give you tiny scissors that barely work, or even no scissors at all. Having a multi-tool with shears or scissors as the main highlight is pretty different and interesting. The crazy thing is, they're actually crazy strong and usable. These are legit rescue shears. Seat belts, clothing, zip ties, packaging, heavy material, this thing tears through it all. And because they're spring-loaded, they're actually comfortable to use repeatedly. For other tools, you of course get pliers that actually fold out of the side, which is kind of an interesting design. Looking at it this way, it's almost like two tools in one. And these aren't just cheap plier heads either, as they also feature replaceable wire cutters. For pliers that are a side thought in a tool like this, I think it's super cool that they have replaceable wire cutters like you find on higher end Leatherman models. The pliers are also spring loaded like the scissors, so again, pretty comfortable in use. But the real fun starts with all the weird tools this thing has. This multi-tool has features I generally don't see very often. For one, you get an oxygen tank wrench. Now in my daily life, I've never needed this tool, but it's interesting to see in a multi-tool as I can't think of another multi-tool with something like this. One thing I really do like about this tool, however, is how it deploys and locks. When I first got it, I was like, how the heck does this open? I tried pulling on it, even tried pushing it from underneath, but then I finally figured it out because the solution was under my nose. You actually push in this pivot screw and it fires out. Then to put it back in, you slide the tool back in and push the lock into place. It's so simple yet it works so well. There are also some really other interesting tools I've yet to see in a multi-tool like this. One is a handcuff cutter. Again, not something I've needed, but seeing it on a multi-tool is pretty cool for some reason. You also get a zip tie cutter, a dedicated strap cutter, and even a window breaker here on the back. Of course, you get all the standard tools like a knife, saw blade, screwdriver, ruler, bottle opener, but these all make it kind of more of a more rescue-focused tool that make this very interesting. This doesn't feel like an EDC-focused multi-tool. Instead, this feels more for rescue, emergency, tactical, or utility use. This thing almost feels like somebody sat down and asked, what would happen if we made a multi-tool specifically for first responders, rescue workers, or gear nerds? And somehow it came together and it actually works. Now, obviously, not everybody's going to need an oxygen tank wrench, and people watching this probably aren't cutting handcuffs off somebody on a regular basis, but that's kind of the point of why this multi-tool is so interesting. It's specialized and it feels different. And honestly, I'm kind of tired of every multi-tool being the exact same thing with some slightly different handles. I can't count how many Leatherman Wave clones are currently populating on Amazon right now, and this actually feels innovative. Now realistically, who is this for? I don't think this is your average office EDC person or your typical weekend warrior. If all you need to do is open some Amazon boxes and tightening a screw once a week, this is definitely overkill. But if you're into preparedness, emergency kits, overlanding, first responder equipment, camping, vehicle recovery gear, or even just collecting interesting freaking multi-tools, this thing starts to make a lot more sense and it's just a cool piece of gear. And honestly, I personally think this multi-tool shines most in a vehicle kit, and that's what I'm planning on using it for. Right now, I carry a Leatherman bolster in my glove box, but I think this is going to be replaced by this guy. This has all the same features, it just adds so much more. This has tools like the seatbelt cutter, the glass breaker, rescue shears, just adds so much more advantage compared to my current glove box Leatherman. Now with all that praise, there are definitely some downsides here. The biggest one is obvious, and that's the weight. This thing is heavy. And not like, oh, it's a little chunky. No, this thing is a brick heavy. And again, I personally not want this bouncing around in my pocket or bag all day. And while a pocket clip does exist, I think most people are going to end up using the sheath or just toss it in your car. The second downside is the price. At $99.99, you're entering legitimate multi-tool territory, a space in which Leatherman kind of rules. So people are naturally going to compare this against proven multi-tools from brands they already trust. And honestly, I totally get it. It's a really tough market, but I also think the Pioneer does just enough unique things to justify existing. This doesn't feel like a knockoff trying to copy a Leatherman. That said, if something breaks, I'd much rather fall back on Leatherman's warranty, but that's again something you'll have to live with. Now the one major gripe with this tool almost scrapped this video completely. One thing that is incredibly major that has me a little concerned. It's this plain edge blade here on the front, and at first glance, everything looks okay. Yet when we look a little closer, when I put a lot of force into the opening, the blade doesn't fully lock as it should. Now why is this a big deal? I'll show you. The blade doesn't even lock even though I open it. The liner lock isn't pushing over to keep the blade open. I can get around this by really pushing the blade and locking it, but I shouldn't have to do that every time. When I open it up, it should just lock up. But you can see the lock is not centered and it just shuts right down. That's really concerning because you could be working on something and have this fail while you're working on it and it go down on your fingers. Just really unsafe. Don't know if this one just slipped by quality control, but it's just very concerning. Don't like to see it on this multi-tool. So is the next Torch Pioneer the one multi-tool to rule them all? Honestly, for the right person, maybe. For a firefighter, police officer, or an EMT, this might honestly be the best tool out there right now. But if you want the lightest multi-tool ever made, this isn't it. If you want the cheapest multi-tool ever possible, definitely not. But if you want a multi-tool that feels extremely robust, unique, overbuilt, and generally different from the endless sea of copy-paste multi-tools out there, the Pioneer is pretty seriously impressive. It feels purpose-built with a clear rescue focus intent. And more importantly, it feels like a tool you could actually depend on, just maybe not that knife blade. That alone makes this stand out, but I want to hear what you guys think. Would you actually carry something like this heavy if it meant getting all these tools in one package, or would you still stick with a more traditional multi-tool setup? Drop your thoughts in the comment below because I'd love to hear them. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and I'll catch you guys in the next one.